Alright, red, splash, black, aggro. So, this is very similar to the mono red decks that have been running around, but we have a small black splash for Fireblade Artist, Judith, and Midnight Reaper as a little bit of card draw. One thing I have been thinking about is, I think this deck's on 22 lands. There might be one land too many. I think I'm going to cut a swamp for a shock. Let's do that. So, if you want, like, mono red with a twist a little bit, I think there's a chance that not just being mono red for Chain Whirler could be a mistake, but playing Judith is a powerful card. So, like, basically the posit is that, like, maybe playing Judith is more powerful than just being all in on mono red for Chain Whirler. Yeah, I think the blue-green client list on my website is very reasonable. I don't know what Niblis of Frost does. Is that a standard legal card? That's from Eldritch Moon. Yeah, that card's not really modern playable. Give Poppy a land. What are the odds that one of these shocks would be the swamp that I cut? Probably pretty good. Remember that time I cut the 22nd land? Remember that time we cut the 22nd land? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Pepperidge Farm remembers that land. All right, that's off to a strong start. Off to a strong start. I'm gonna trim Lightning Strike for Lava Coil against their deck and click submit. I think maybe Midnight Reaper's not amazing in this matchup. How do I feel about Experimental Frenzy and Theater of Horrors as ways to generate card advantage? I think I'm on board for those. Yeah, let's give this a try. Pestilent Spirit is for creatures that have larger power and toughness. Things like Wild Growth Walker, as well as angels like Lyra and Shalai. It's also just a 3/2 Menace Death Touch creature, so often when it attacks, it's going to be trading with 2 creatures inside of combat. So, Midnight Reaper in general isn't a card that I like against other aggressive decks, because the fact that it deals damage to us when our creatures die can often become a liability in games. I haven't really experienced other games, like, you're referencing particularly, specifically RTS games there, but as far as, like, gaming culture on the internet goes, I think singling out card game players as being more miserable than people who play other games is probably a little bit unfair, and the proper assessment is likely that human beings are miserable, and Magic is just full of humans. Too real, Jeff. Sorry. Sometimes things get a little bit deep around here. Dimir Spy, I'd encourage you to look at our mana base and then come to the conclusion of on Chupacabra again. Man, remember that time we cut Chain Whirler from our red deck? If you want an actual answer that isn't all human beings are terrible, in my experience, I have no memory of cutting Chain Whirler. Thanks for the 4-month stay. Hope you're having a good Tuesday wherever you're at. I appreciate the support. In general, I think competitive games and people who play games competitively tend to spend more time and invest more of themselves into those competitive games. And I think when you spend so much time doing something, it's very easy to tie your self-worth up in the thing that you're doing. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of your self-worth is tied to your result in whatever game you're playing. So when people are playing games like Magic and they do poorly, they feel bad because they feel dumb because they're doing poorly. And what I'm saying isn't to excuse people's bad behavior, because like people being rude over a game are still being rude and they shouldn't be that way. But I think that's where a lot of that toxicity comes from, is that their self-worth is tied up in the result of this game because they've spent so much time on it. And in Magic, it's very easy to not even just spend your time on it, but like Magic, you could spend a lot of money on it too, right? And like putting money into something too makes it feel like even more part of you. Even without cutting a Swamp Dimir Spy, Chupacabra is not castable. Alright, we're very dead. Flooded, better cut another land. Yeah, I think this game's done. I think competitive games really force brains to confront some of the most difficult emotional struggles. I agree. And I think it's especially true with games like Magic 2 that have a lot of variance tied up in them. Like, if you're like connecting your self-worth to a game like Magic, where like there's literally going to be a lot of games where you just don't get to play, it becomes extra tough to like process as a person. And again, that's not to say that those people should be doing that, but it's kind of to explore like where they could be coming from while they're doing that. I think we're supposed to play the Diagonal Goblin on 1. I guess it's pretty marginal either way. I'm gonna play the Diagonal Goblin on 1 because I have swamps in my hand, and Footlight Fiend can be cast from Swamp, and Diagonal Goblin only gets cast from Blood Crypt. Well, full auto, that's part of the struggle with new Magic players too. Like, I know you probably said, what if you're too dumb to know you're dumb? One of the problems with Magic is that it's tough, especially when you're a new player, to know if you made a mistake. Like, Magic isn't a game that necessarily, like, you can play a game and not realize that you made a mistake on turn 2 that lost you the game on turn 10. And, like, being able to, like, look back and reflect and realize the actual mistake and everything that you did can be tough. So because this other light up the stage is an exile, I think it's important that we just attack here and then get value off of this. Like, obviously playing Judith here looks appealing, but getting value off of this card I think is more important. We ended up submitting Teamer Flank for tomorrow. So, I've seen some of the blue-green Nexus decks playing Sinister Sabotage instead of or in addition to Frilled Mystic. They just been a Memorial to Genius and Truant Harbor. So, likely blue-green Nexus, but could be a couple things still. There could be a Teamer Nexus deck too. Fight with Fire could be a good suggestion. I don't hate that. So now I have to decide, do I want a Lightning Strike or jam Judith? Because I'm expecting my opponent to potentially have Frilled Mystic, I think just jamming the Lightning Strike here is better. Because, like, playing my Judith out and getting a Frilled Mystic feels bad, and I'd be losing my Lightning Strike to do that. Fair warning, we may or may not get down to Naya mid-range today. It's going to depend on how good our numbers are this afternoon, how late I'm going to go. Because we're just starting black-red aggro now, so that one might get pushed back to Thursday. Hey, thanks for the 11 months, Rixel. Welcome back. No, I think it's okay to not bolt while they're tapped out, because if they want to counterspell my Lightning Strike, they're less likely to be able to counterspell my Judith next turn. So I'd much prefer they counter this than counter this. Also, it leaves me open to being able to kill something like this. One wet butt. Nice biogenic ooze. Main deck ooze is interesting. A lot of these decks have been playing 3 to 4 copies of this in the sideboard, but I've not played against it in the main deck before today. Why shock? I shocked because I didn't want them to trade their 2/2 token for one of my 2/1 creatures, because my 2/1 creatures likely represent more than 2 points of damage over the remainder of this game. Cast 3 mana shock. And this is why, if you have a deck that you think wants to play Judith, you should always play 4 Judith, because your second Judith is just like 3 mana shock you. Whenever someone sends me a deck list without 4 Judith, the first thing I do before we play it is I cut something for the 4th Judith. Because just like, the floor is so incredibly high on it. Like, usually, legendary creatures drawn in multiple are awkward. But like, decks that play her basically always want to have her in play. And when you draw the second, it's like, it's still fine, right? Like, 3 mana deal damage to you is not amazing, but it's still like, in for something that we're interested in doing. Yeah, explaining that they see each other when the other one dies is a little bit awkward to new players. Yeah, you get Judith, her dies triggers on herself, basically. Fingers crossed we get another turn. Yeah, Judith with Footlight Fiend is so incredibly powerful, just because Judith with Footlight Fiend lets you attack into 4 toughness creatures, because it's a 2/1 that then deals 2 when it dies. Alright, statistically, I think we're dead here. Hey, Oleum, thanks for continuing your sub gift. I appreciate the support. Welcome back. If they cast Nexus of Fate this turn, I'm gonna concede because we're likely to be dead. Once they have double Azcanta activation going, the percentage of bricking is incredibly low. But if they don't have it this turn, you know, maybe. It's a real shame that we're 1 point of damage short. They're gonna fog us here. Oh, do they not have anything? Do they not have anything? So I'm aware that we have 5, but did we see the blink of an eye that just happened? Blink of an eye is a reason to attack with Judith and Footlight Fiend before I do anything else. If I shot the Footlight Fiend, we wouldn't have won here. So attacking first is free, and just you should do it. All right, by the skin of the teeth, every bit of the buffalo. Judith plus Firebrand is sweet because it upgrades this into like a better shock. The old fork bolt for people that have played Modern. No, it didn't matter about sacking it in response, because if they countered the Judith on the way back down, we weren't killing them that turn anyways. So, Midnight Reaper is not really what this matchup is about. They're not killing our stuff. I definitely want the discard spells. It's probably Shock out, right? Just because it's our slowest reach. I wonder if I just, like, want Frenzy and Theater as a way to chain through our deck when they're fogging us. That doesn't seem unreasonable. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna trim my cheaper removal. Although I guess at the same time, they showed us main deck Biogenic Ooze, but like, that brings into question, like, what is my opponent gonna do post-sideboard, right? Because like, Biogenic Ooze is bad against Shock and Lightning Strike, so they should probably board it out. So if they board it out, we should cut our Shocks and our Lightning Strikes, but if we're cutting the Shocks and Lightning Strikes, do they go to the next level and leave the Ooze in? Like, what's happening in that back and forth is basically a question. Like, what level are we boarding for versus where are they at? Yeah, I'm aware, Conroy. No, actually, I boarded based on they're just going to be at level 1 and cut the Ooze because it's not good against our spells. So I cut the Shocks, assuming they're cutting the Ooze. And that's why it's really important, like traditional sideboarding wisdom is, you need to be sideboarding against the deck you're going to be playing against and not the deck you just played against. Which is why the sideboarding element to Best of 3 Magic, when you have that available, adds so much strategy to the game, because sideboarding is something that rewards you for being familiar with the format in general, not just your deck. This 1/4 is really brutal. It's kind of great. Yeah, I think, this must have been in lists at the Grand Prix or something, because I'd never played against this card before, and we played against it 2 or 3 times today. So I'm going to send one upstairs and one at the Archer, and then we'll Skewer to finish the Archer off. Hey, Gromsky, thanks for the 5 months. Welcome back, I appreciate it. Yeah, it seems great against Mono Blue, because it kills one of their things and then it has reach. And, like, having technology against Mono Blue is important in decks like my opponent's, because these combo-style decks like my opponent is playing are the type of deck that Mono Blue tends to beat up. So, am I dead? I really need to find some royalty-free carnival music so I can play it at moments like this. Part of me wants to cast Lightning Strike just so I can auto-pass. Shill. I really need to set up shill pages that just like have the game in a tiny corner and just like have the advertisers up, so like while Nexus is playing with themselves. I'm like, we concede pretty quickly. As soon as we're likely dead, we'll be done. There's no guarantee. I mean, we're probably just not beating a 4-4 from this position. Let's move on with our lives. It's bad television. And honestly, so like that could be the reason that Nexus of Fate gets banned. Like, if there's a lot of Nexus decks at the Mythic Championship this weekend, coverage of the Mythic Championship is going to be really dry and tedious. One thing that is really important is that if you are going to play Nexus in a paper Magic tournament, make sure you're courteous and respectful while you play it, and bring a coloring book for your opponent so that way they have something to do while you combo. It's the least you can do. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and play this here. Attack. Yeah, that's the other thing too. In addition to like watching it go back and forth, watching health totals, the Nexus decks really like maximize the health total is not a scoreboard aspect. Oh god, they have another archer. Yikes. Experimental Frenzy might be our saving grace this game. It might let us power through what's about to happen. There's a magic coloring book. That's great. I mean, you can discard Nexus, but it's just like not the card I care about right now. Like, it does take it out of their hand and make them redraw it. This 1/4 is just like the most rude card I've played against in recent memory. That being said, this Experimental Frenzy might be our saving grace. It could be the card that lets us power through here. So I think I'm gonna sacrifice Footlight Fiend next turn. Nah, if I had a Spectacle card, we could just attack. Now is where it gets kinda trippy, because like the top card of our deck, I need to put a stop during my turn, because if the theater exiles and reveals an instant, I want to cast the instant before I draw it for the turn. So resolve. Should we be sacrificing stuff just because the archer's in the way? Maybe. We kind of get to attack wide around it at the moment, which is nice. We might not get another turn here. We might not get another turn here. Which is unfortunate. I guess if I had been binning these Footlight Fiends, we'd have killed them here. So maybe I should have been doing that more aggressively. I just assumed I was going to be attacking with them eventually, but I guess with Fog in the mix, yeah, I think the person who suggested I should have been binning the Footlight Fiends aggressively is correct. They have 6 cards in their bin. We're likely not going to get another turn. And if I'd have been binning these Footlight Fiends over the next 2 turns, they'd have died. Each of them would have done 3 with the Fireblade Artist. Yeah, the archer in conjunction with the possibility of them having Fog makes that a lot better. I think that's correct. My favorite part about when people mention how I speak, and they're like, he talks like he's asking questions. A lot of the time, I am asking questions. The best teachers don't dictate, they ask questions. It's referred to as the Socratic method. The best way to teach people is to answer their questions with questions. And in Magic, there's a lot of uncertainty. Like that last turn, for example, even I said, I think it was correct to cast back the Footlight Fiend, and this is why I think it's correct, but it's like, question mark, was that correct? Let's discuss. Upspeak, apparently they've labeled it. It's referred to as upspeak. But like, half the time I am asking a question, because with Magic there's a lot of probabilistic plays, and that's one of the things that makes Magic so interesting in my opinion, is that you can make good plays and lose, and you can make bad plays and still win, so it's worth discussing your lines regardless of what the outcome of your game is. I don't think we're guaranteed dead here yet. They only have 5 lands, and they don't have a way to attack us a bunch. They're definitely dead if we untap, so... No, the person from earlier I banned because they'd been here a long time. What's going on, Vision? Thanks for the 5 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. I've never made a bad play in my life and still lose plenty of games. They're actually just dead. They're actually just dead to blow up Experimental Frenzy, cast Fanatical Pyromancer, right? Right, that's the line. They could have a counterspell here, I assume. GP trials have not existed for a long time. And again, I definitely made a mistake this game. I definitely should have sacrificed my Footlight Fiends more aggressively. You know, I wonder, like, looking at that game, is this deck just better playing Theater Frenzy in the main deck over Midnight Reaper? Is that the appeal to having the Black Splash, that we can have really powerful card draw engines? Maybe that's the line. It probably makes sideboarding a little easier too. Like, I'm looking for reasons to, like, be into the black cards. I think that might be it. Theater, Frenzy, I think Frenzy's better than Theater on average, but I also think the second Frenzy really sucks. So, like, having Theater instead of a second Frenzy tends to be good. Yeah, getting both of those out together is just an absurd number of cards together. What else do I want in this sideboard? So, we have 21 lands, but, like, we have Light Up the stage too, which makes it better. 17 red is not enough for Chain Whirler. Phoenix, I like that idea. So Phoenix is worse if I have Experimental Frenzy in my deck, but maybe it's good enough. Maybe it's good enough. Cannonade could be okay. The The white aggro decks are definitely tough. Spirit with Cannonade's kind of funny, too. Oh, we mentioned Fight with Fire over Pestilent Spirit. I don't know if I like that. I think I'm just gonna do this. I like the Spirit. Wait, white aggro seemed real hard. Like, where do I want Cast Down? Like, what is Cast Down killing that Lava Coil's not killing? Because, like, a lot of the things that Lava Coil doesn't kill, Cast Down also doesn't kill because they're legendary. Diagonal Goblin, I choose you. Spirit does make Cannonade Death Touch. This deck does not. I'd encourage people that want to play black cards to familiarize yourself with the rough numbers here in this Mana Math article. The good rule of thumb to play a double colored spell consistently on turn 3, you generally need 17 to 18 colored sources. We have 12 black sources in this deck. I don't think Priest of the Forgotten Gods would be that good in this deck. I think we don't have enough creatures to consistently feed a string of stuff into it. Before anyone asks, sure, I could play the Skewer post-combat and save 2 mana, but they know the last card in my hand is a land, and I get less auto-pass value playing it post-combat. Alright, looking to draw Theater of Frenzy here. Please, Kaya's Wrath, my Diagonal Goblin. Yikes. And you should never hold 2 lands in your hand in your deck that has Theater and Experimental Frenzy in it. So, definitely get those into play. Yeah, if you play, you don't have to keep track of. If your cards have the same artwork, it always hides the one that they know about. Time to rage cut a land. Flood it out. Shuffler's out to get me, chat. We're probably done at this point, right? Like, the odds of them having something like Absorb are high. So, like, cards like Theater and Experimental Frenzy could maybe drag me back in, but my opponent has so many resources at this point, those are unlikely to do anything.
Sorry, let's skip to the good part.
Yeah, I would believe you that this matchup's probably okay on average, but definitely need less than 7 lands for that to be the case. Yeah, they can have, like, Mortify or something like that at this point, too. Getting to board in Duress and Kitesail here is quite excellent. Get to trim Lightning Strike and probably Shock. This seems reasonable. I think I like this configuration. Remember when looking at our curve that these are basically 1s. This seems good. Stupid lands. I think I'd rather just have a discard spell than something cheeky like an expansion. That's true. Spirit for Lyra post-board is, like, not unreasonable. It's also just, like, a 3/2 for 3, which is fine. This curve is juicy. Yeah, I submitted Teamer Climb for the Rivals Tournament. Hey, Spurt. Thanks for the 8 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, Kaya's actually seeing play against Mono Blue. I've seen a lot of Esper decks have like 2 of her in the 75 now. To set a bar that's low, Kaya seems less bad than initially predicted. Well, that was the worst possible case scenario. Like, even, like, anything other than Cry is, like, really good for us there. The Tefri. Oh, magic. Just like, know about all their cards. None of them are a big deal. Just like, runner. Yikes. That's how the game goes sometimes. Well, at least Cry means that Kaya doesn't gain any life.
Hurry!
Probably done here. We're rapidly approaching garbage time.
I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, they're being super conservative. Because this Kaya gets them up to 9.
I'll phase through anything that's.
Wouldn't played this really well. Like their use of resources here a lot. It's like ult relatively fast too to gain them more life. Thanks. How are you doing, folks? Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to everybody, wherever you're at in the world. Thanks for dropping by here today. My name is Jeff Hoagland. I stream full-time here on Twitch. I'm here playing Magic 30, 40, 50 hours a week. If you enjoy standard best of 3 constructed, this is definitely the channel for you. We play that on Magic Arena pretty much every afternoon here. As always, a shout out to all my wonderful sponsors out there. I wouldn't be here day in and day out without their wonderful support. They are quite literally the folks that keep me employed. I'd also like to give a mention to some of my wonderful sponsors here. Nerd Rage Gaming Championship Series, a $5,000 cash tournament series that happens every single month in the Midwestern United States. If you can't make it out to the Midwest to play in one of their standard, modern, or legacy tournaments, you can be sure to check out their streaming coverage as well at twitch.tv/NRG series. BCW Supplies are the only ones that I trust to protect my very wonderful shuffling deck here, as well as my other paper Magic the Gathering cards, using code Jeff10 at bcwsupplies.com. You can save 10% on sleeves, binders, deck box, and all sorts of other fantastic gaming accessories. Neo provides wonderful candy-flavored protein bars using code Hoagland at bit.ly/HoagleBar. You can save 10% on your orders there with them. And of course, as always, we'd like to welcome everyone out there to Hoaglandia. I know there's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch right now, and I appreciate you choosing to drop in to spend part of your day here with us. Remember, if you are new and enjoying the stream, make sure you hit that follow button. Following the stream doesn't cost you anything, and I'll let you know when I go live and with what. Also, find out lots of other stuff that I do. Pretty much everything that I stream gets archived to my YouTube channel and my website that you can find here. Set on into our next match with red-black aggro. One of the things worth noting about that last match is the Cry of the Canarium really beat us up. But, like Judith we mentioned is like being played instead of something like Goblin Chain Whirler. Had that Judith been Goblin Chain Whirler, we wouldn't have gotten swept by the Cry, right? We would have still had a 3-3 in play, which is a big deal. Glossy versus matte, which do I like? I personally like the gloss sleeves. And the thing to know about the BCW sleeves is that all of the backs on the BCW sleeves are matte backs, so they shuffle well. The gloss versus matte refers to the front of the sleeve. what you actually look at your card through. All right, white aggro matchup. So this is a matchup that we put a couple of cannonades to the board for. So let's see how this goes. To hide the backs of unlimited cards, you need to use opaque sleeves that you can't see through the back of. All the BCW Elite 2 sleeves are opaque. They actually have a special black backing inside the sleeve. So this sleeve is red on the back, and inside the sleeve there's a black layer, so that none of the BCW Elite sleeves are ones that you can see through. So they're good for double face cards or cards that might be a little bit damaged on the back. I don't believe smoked inner sleeves are considered opaque. The BCW sleeves are also a great price. They are $8 for 100 sleeves, and then if you use my code, you get 10% off of that. If this hits them and we get double light the stage off here, should be in a pretty good spot. Weird that they didn't have a play. I wonder if they are playing the blue splash, perhaps, and don't have a like a bunch of deputy of detentions in their hands. Hey, Alex, thank you very much for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a good day wherever you're at. Thanks for the support. I'm gonna go ahead and trade this here. I didn't trade last turn because I needed the Pyromancer to hit. I needed the Pyromancer to be able to enable Spectacle for me. I'm just going to go ahead and pass here. I didn't play Judith out because this Footlight Fiend is only castable till the end of this turn via Light Up the Stage. Must have just flooded out here. They could potentially have cards that are colors they can't cast to, though. This is definitely the Fiery Cannonade matchup. And how am I supposed to sideboard? Fireblade Artist is pretty bad if we're playing defense. Do I just want to turn into a black-red control deck? On the back of Experimental Frenzy and Theater of Horrors, I might just be able to play out kind of like a control deck. What do you feel about like 2 of these down, Lava Coil in? Yeah, I think this is a kill all the things matchup. I agree. I think I like this. Seems good. Let's give it a go. Give it a go and see how things shake out. I definitely think our primary aggro plan is not particularly profitable here. Yeah, maybe Vanisho is better than Judy. Okay, let's draw some lands off these light up the stages. Alright, so initially I was gonna play Footlight Fiend on 1, but because I drew a swamp, I'm just gonna go ahead and lead on the Diagonal Goblin. Just because the Footlight Fiend casts off the swamp and the Diagonal Goblin does not. So, like, next turn now I can go Firebrand plus Diagonal Goblin. How does that work for Arena? For Arena, I give Wizards of the Coast lots of money every time they release a set. Have a good one, Nivik. I'm going to attack here first because I'm kind of okay with they trade here. And if they don't trade, I get to light up the stage. And I'm not so in on casting light up the stage this turn that I want to sacrifice my goblin to kill this, basically. And now I'm going to play Footlight Fiend out here, so that way if they attack with this, I can block and then kill the Sky Marcher, or block here and then kill the Lifelink token. This is bad, however, if they have Marshall. Don't do it. Have a heart. Darn it. I think I just take this hit because I have Judith next turn. Now we just pass. If they have another Marshal here, I'm going to kill one of their 2/2s in response, so that way they can't flip the Legion's Landing. Ideally, I want to keep them off flipping the Legion's Landing this game. Because I have this Experimental Frenzy in my hand, my goal is to, like, not get run out of this game and then set up Experimental Frenzy so I can play a bunch of cards and just overwhelm them with card quantity as opposed to card quality. 100 card hero, thank you for the 4-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome. So I'm actually going to let them have the option to attack here with all three. And the reason why I'm giving them this option this turn is because if they attacked with all three, it would involve... Nah, maybe this is bad. This is bad. I should have waited because I have this other Firebrand. We drew Lightning Strike. That's really good for me. That's a really good draw. I think I'm doing this and I'm passing. I think I'm doing this and passing. Sure.
I am proud to fight by your side. Look how far you have come.
This attack seems good for us. I get to block here, and then this kills the token plus kills the 1/1. Yeah, I agree. That attack seems loose. So Footlight Fiend with Judith is just so good. I'm gonna ignore a Johnny so I can edit the stage this turn. He doesn't bring back anything I really care about. We killed all that we said this was a kill all the things matchup, and lo and behold,
We still need you.
Do I light up the stage or do I frenzy here? I think I light up the stage. This Cannonade puts them in a really awkward spot. Because now they block, and I Cannonade and kill everything, and I get to poke a Johnny here still, which is fine. Now I pass. Mies, thanks for the Prime support. Hope you're having a good one wherever you're at. Welcome. So shipping your Bezo bucks this way. And like now, they can't just get something back with a Johnny. They have to like spend a turn plussing and doing nothing basically. Or they get something back and then the Ajani's gone. Which I think is fine. Either of those results we're kind of happy with. Yeah, next turn I get to go stage into like play land, play frenzy, and like go from there.
See in yourself what I see. I will not be moved.
This is a sweet post-board plan. Alright, sure. You got it. Why does my red aggro deck have this many cards that draw cards?
Strength is born.
Oh, yeah.
I wish you only.
I think it's right to play this before I play a land. Don't you dare tell me you drew another Conclave Tribunal. Type Taker. Woo! We get a couple more turns with Frenzy, we should be good. It's required the same, yeah. The Frenzy going off is similar circus music. That was definitely much better than Midnight Reaper would have been there, right? I like it. I like where we've ended up at. It's a good plan. Stage status lit, right? Light up the stages is definitely aptly named. Yeah, we've got 4 stage and frenzy and theater, like. Yeah, I agree. Being able to pivot up is one of my favorite things to do. Don't you dare tell me we should scrap the Reaper after I spend my wild cards on it. Yikes. Hey, that card's playable in Sultai. There are 4 Vanisho in this deck. I just boarded a couple of them out in the last match. Might be bad to jam this into Frilled Mystic. Chemistry Insight's great to jam it into that. That's why you wait until the end to buy in. Yep. Yeah, if you haven't watched this stream before, a lot of these decks, even when they're my own decks, we're still tuning and changing as we go. What we end with is rarely what we start with. Hey, Jay Miller, thanks for the 2-1-3 sub. Thanks for keeping me around. Hope you're having a good Tuesday wherever you're at. Am I dead yet? Please just be Chemist's Insight. They're still at 13 here, so like 13 with double Wilderness in play probably means we're dead. Getting to board in a bunch of Duresses and Kitesail Freebooters against the Nexus decks in a red aggro deck is kind of sweet too. You put a stop you put a stop during your end step. So you click here to be able to respond to your Nexus triggers. Alright, am I dead yet? I'm gonna sit down and have something to eat while we find out if we're getting another turn. Stupid desk, I said go down. I didn't play the second theater because based on my opponent's health total, this game will likely be over before the second theater can become relevant. If I'm winning this game, it will be over before the second theater can be relevant. Thanks for the Twitch Prime support, Dave. I appreciate that. This is the JKLL turn pass because they have damage there. So even when they pass to your turn, you still often don't get to play. They take away your one relevant step on your turn. Yeah, I fully agree that Wilderness Reclamation is likely to blame for the misery that is the Nexus decks. It adds an absurd level of power and consistency to the archetypes. Like, Wilderness Reclamation is so obnoxious because it's being used to double your mana. The issue with Wilderness Reclamation in this format is that there's too many good instant speed things, so it's actually doubling your mana instead of just giving you your mana back on your opponent's turn. Hey, Mr. System. Thank you for the 5-month resub, and I appreciate you keeping it up. Mostly watching on YouTube. Hope you feel better. I assume they're gonna bounce Judith here. People who might be newer to Magic with Arena, if you want a good thing to laugh at, when they initially spoiled unique cards as the box stoppers for booster boxes in paper, they made the statement that they didn't think these cards would regularly be constructed playable. So, that's like extra funny. Yeah, it would be much better, Brosador, if it untapped on your opponent's untap step as opposed to your end of turn. For sure. Definitely less offensive. To be fair, like, less offensive is a low bar, though, because it's, like, really easy to make it less offensive. Yeah, I think this was the second one, right? This was the second one, I believe. The source for that statement, do some Google searching around the Sun and Moon card that happened. We might not get another turn here. When people are freaking out about the first one. Alright, I'm gonna concede if they take another turn. Obviously, if we get a turn, we get to kill them, but we might not get another turn here. You do your opponent, let me know. You raise your hand if you get there. I'll be over here, you let me know. Are you done? Are you dead? Did you brick? Did you brick and die? Did you brick and die, opponent? No, they have another turn. JK. They already played. I was looking at something else and they played an Nexus. I was paying so little attention to the game because it just didn't matter. And I just like instinctually hit the space bar when it came up. Oh, it's so miserable. Oh, red, black, aggro. I like where we ended more than where we began. The deck definitely felt much better in experimental. It definitely felt much better with experimental Frenzy and Theater of Horrors than it did with the Midnight Reapers, especially in the aggressive matchup where we wanted to assume a more controlling role. I think that's, so if you're looking to play something with Judith in it specifically, it's definitely one of the better Judith decks that I've played. It's about all I got on red, black, aggro. Speaking of Judith-esque decks, we've got black, white aristocrats coming up next, which